Let's revive and wear this 1926 Peggy Sage nail polish in the shade Dark. The shade name fell off at some point, but fortunately it left a mark on the bottle so we can ID it. You can see here it says Dark. It had a sticker on the side with a date of July 11th, 1932, not the date of manufacture, but likely an inventory date. This would have been a salon bottle for refilling smaller bottles. Before we can thin the long dried out polish, we've got to remove the many silverfish bodies stuck to the walls inside the bottle. I have a huge phobia of bugs, but they haven't moved in decades, so I think I'll be okay. I'm just taking a wooden skewer with cotton to make a long swab. The silverfish didn't enter the bottle for the polish, but likely came to eat the cork and got trapped in the bottle. I'm saturating the swab with 100% alcohol, and then we're going to remove the debris. I'm noticing that the swab has some red dissolving onto it, so this makes me hopeful that the polish will respond to my solvent when we get there. Now let's fast forward so we can sooner get to the fun parts. You really don't want to watch me chase rehydrated bugs for 20 minutes. After the long overdue eviction, I gently remove the bit of shrink wrap on the bottle, which I'll put back on later, and clean the outside. With all of the cleaning, I'm making sure I avoid touching where the shade name used to be, and I won't clean that spot so we can preserve it. While cleaning, I noticed that the logo sticker is hanging on by a thread, so we'll carefully remove it the rest of the way so that we don't damage it. We'll reattach it after reviving the polish. And with that off, I'll give it a rub down with a lens wipe, avoiding the corner. Our last step before reviving the polish is to blow some canned air into the bottle to blow out any possible dust or debris on the dried mass of polish. Now we're ready to break out the Sesh Restore thinner. This bottle is really big, and the polish formulas back in the 20s were quite thin, so we'll probably use almost the entire bottle when all is said and done. We'll start out by entirely submerging the dried polish. Immediately we can see that the polish is joining the thinner, so this is promising. We're gonna let it sit for a few days, but we can't do that without a fresh cork. It's been 3 days, and look at the consistency. There's still a mass at the bottom, but it has softened quite a bit. We'll give it a stir with the paddle end of our skewer, and then we'll add some more thinner. This reminds me of blood clots, and I love it. This is 5 minutes of stirring condensed into 7 seconds. We're not using the vortex today since I don't want polish to glue the cork shut. After this last stir, we'll close it up for another couple of days. It's been another 3 days and my nails are ready for polish, and the polish looks better than I even expected it would. Let's get the labels back on and then I'll paint my nails. I use basic Elmer's craft glue, nothing fancy. It's acid-free so it won't damage the labels and it can be removed if needed. And let's not forget the inventory sticker. Now I'm so ready to try this on. Since it didn't come with a brush, I keep a clean OPI brush soaking in thinner. Since the brush can't reach, I'll just decant what I'll use into a spare Sesh Restore cap. I'm so giddy and had way too much caffeine, so pardon my million initial strokes. This is likely the oldest liquid nail polish I, or really anyone else, has ever worn. The first coat is dry, and look how shiny it is already. I'm not sure how many coats a Peggy Sage manicurist would have done, but I'm going to layer it until it's dark like its name. It's literally dry here, but it's as shiny as it was when it was wet. If you're wondering, they would have not used pigment in this formula, but rather dyes. Most commonly carmazine, erythromycin, and flaxine for reds. These are commonly used in foods even today. Most people assume these old polishes to be at a Victorian level of toxic, but for the most part, they were quite simple. In 4 coats, this built up better than I ever imagined. It's the vampy cola red of my dreams with a jelly sheerness that gives it so much depth. This might be one of the shiniest polishes I've ever worn. Can you believe that I'm not even wearing a top coat? I had to refilm this a few times since my hands were shaking with a mix of caffeine and excitement, but I'm so obsessed with this. This hasn't been worn since the Great Depression, and here it is almost 100 years later as if no time has passed at all. If you'd like to see more restorations like this, be sure to follow and hit some buttons so I can buy more antique polish. And comment a decade from which you'd like to see a polish revived next.